Hello Group 201, this is our weekly feedback video for the week of June 1st. We had several activities for this week, so I'm going to review some key points from those. And I'll start with the reading about Sherlock Holmes on pages 86 and 87 of your textbook. So I'm going to start with exercise number 3 on page 86. So we had some reading comprehension questions. I'm going to talk about the answers, and you can check your work against what I'm about to explain. So number 1, the answer to that question is that Sherlock Holmes was staying in one of England's most famous university towns doing some research. Unfortunately, in the reading, they don't actually tell us what the town was. It's just they say that it's one of the most famous towns, and he was doing some research. So if you got anything along those lines, you would be correct. So moving on to question number 2. The answer is that Hilton Soames was a tutor at one of the colleges as well as an acquaintance of Holmes. So that was their relationship. Number 3 is that he received Greek translation papers that afternoon. Number 4 is that those same papers were lying on the floor of his room after he returned from tea. Number 5 is that he refused to call the police because he did not want to have a scandal at the college. Number 6 is that Bannister was the servant of Mr. Soames, like his butler or his assistant. Number 7 is that the clues Soames found here were the following: a broken pencil, a 3-inch cut in the red leather top of his desk, and a small lump of black mud. And the answer to question 8 is that he thinks someone copied the exam questions in order to gain some type of advantage. So moving on now to exercise 4 from the reading. The answer to number 1 is false. That is because the tutor's room was on the ground floor and the students lived above. The answer to number 2 is true. He couldn't see through the window because he wasn't tall enough, so he had to stand on his tiptoes to be able to see through the window. Number 3 is false. He found nothing on the carpet. Number 4 is also false. They took them over to the window not because they needed light, but because that would allow them to see when Soames was returning so they could escape before he noticed them. Okay? Number 5 is true. He found another small lump of black mud like the one on the desk in his bedroom. So that's how Sherlock Holmes was able to determine that they had actually gone there once they saw him returning. Okay? Number 6 is true. He did that and they ran to the bedroom to escape through the window once they saw him returning. And then finally, they asked us how they escaped. So the answer to that one would be true. They escaped through the window. Okay? Moving on to the activity where they asked us to try to discern the meanings of the highlighted words based on context. I'm going to go over those now. So for acquaintance, based on context, an old acquaintance is what they use, the words that they use in the reading. So we know that it's someone that he knew before. That's essentially the contextual meaning of that word. Someone that he knew from the past or from before. Now the next word, agitated. And the words in quotes, the key words here, nervous and agitated. So we know that if you're nervous, you're agitated, he's going to be uneasy or uncomfortable. So in this case, that would be the contextual meaning of that word. Moving on, we have irritably. So irritably meaning that he was frustrated with Soames because he did not call the police, and especially because Holmes was actually busy with other matters, so he didn't have time to attend to this. So that's why he was irritated. And in this case, irritably, that's how he responded. Okay, so next word would be scandal. So this would just be a public event that would embarrass or get people from the university in trouble. So that's why he wanted to avoid this. That was his motivation for not calling the police. Okay, moving on, disturbed. In this case, not disturbed mentally or emotionally, but rather that the papers were physically not in the same place that Soames had left them before he left for tea time. So they had been disturbed from their original position. Okay, next word, lump. So we know that it's mud. It's like a small lump of black mud. So it's basically like a little ball of mud. That's what they mean by that based on the context. And now finally, stand on tiptoe. Since Holmes was too short to see into the window, he had to stand on his tiptoes to be able to see into the window. And it's in the name, tiptoe. So you're standing on the tips of your toes to make yourself taller so you can see in. Okay? So that's what we had to cover with that reading. Now we also had work to do in the textbook on pages 88 and 89. And these were regarding some phrasal verbs. So we had work out and make up. So again, phrasal verbs are verbs that are made up of more than one word. So such as work out and make up, those are the ones that we're going to focus on. And just for review, to work out means any of the following depending on context. It can mean to find the answer if it's something like math. It can mean to solve if it's like a puzzle or a riddle. Or it can be physical exercise. Now with make up, it can mean any of these things. To make up can mean to invent, to form, or to become friends again, if it's like a social interaction. So now let's complete the sentences using one of those two phrasal verbs. Sentence number 1, Sherlock Holmes worked out who committed the crime. This was a mystery to solve, and since he solved it, we can say that he worked it out, or in this case, Sherlock Holmes worked out. Okay? Number 2, that's a lie. You made that up, didn't you? Because to make up is to invent. It's one of the meanings. So if you're lying, you invented what you said. It's not real. So that's why that would be the correct answer for number 2. Moving on to number 3. I know we argue a lot, but we always kiss and make up afterwards. So in this case, arguing, they're talking about some type of social interaction. And then after this disagreement, they make up and become friends again. So that would be the answer for number 3. Number 4, don't worry, things will work out in the end. They always do. So again, to work out means to be solved or to, well, essentially in this case, solved because it's a problem. But if they work out in the end, they will solve themselves or a resolution will be found. So that's why that would be the correct answer for number 4. Moving on to number 5, we have, he's determined to lose weight. He works out at the gym every day. So in this case, gym, we know that it's physical exercise, so works out. In this case, it has the meaning of doing physical exercise. Okay, moving on to number 6. Women make up 56% of the students in this university. So make up is to form in this context. They are forming that percentage of the students at that university. Number 7, can you work out this bill for me? I don't understand all those figures. So they're asking the person to work out or to solve or explain the bill because they don't understand the figures. So like mathematical data, so they have to solve it and then explain it for that person. So they're basically like solving a math problem. And finally, number 8, you must have worked out the answers by now. So they were given some time, and by this point they must have worked out or solved or found the answer to some questions, or in this case, worked out the answer. So again, in some type of mathematical context. Okay? So hopefully that helped clarify some possible confusion with this week's activities, and I will see you in the next video.